Hey, Caden, how you doing? I do not have ATC running. I've been trying to get ATC configured, been trying to make it work. We'll talk a little bit about that once we get in the air. I have to say, I've not had good luck with it, but not giving up. Right, here we go. How's it going, everybody? How is your weekend? Tried to find some island music. Tried to find something a little Caribbean. We are. Ernie, how you doing? We are in the Turks and Caicos. We are on Grand Turk at, is it Jags McCarthy? I think that's the airport. Jags McCartney. I don't know. That's what they named their airport. Jags McCartney International in, yep, I guess it'd be kind of the middle Caribbean. We are going to Miami, Caden. Correct. So this is, I love this plane. This is the Rotate MD80. And we're running Pratt & Whitney JT8D200 low bypass engines on this jet. And I did find a sound pack for it. The sound in the Rotate mod itself is good, but I found a payware sound upgrade that I think is even better. So we are, thanks, man. You know, it really is hard to make a bad skin, like a deliberately bad skin, without making it obviously just, you know, but trying to make something look authentically 1980s bad was trickier than I thought. So, yep, it is, I would say it's probably 1985 right now. So we got the crew working on the aircraft. Rear steps are down. We're going to hop on board and get started here. And we do have a power cart up front. So, and I use X checklist. There we go. Close this one. I do use X checklist, and the flows for this aircraft are definitely different. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. The flows are different, but I've had many successful flights, probably a half dozen successful flights, so I feel like I am learning it. So parking brake is set. Right, like so. Battery on and locked. That's right here. If I can find it. There it is. Battery on and locked. Gotta hop over to the first officer position. Position lights on, right there, strobes off, go up top, and we want emergency exit, and I've been in the 737, so it's going to take me a minute to find all this stuff again. Here we go. Emergency exit lights arm, and no smoking signs on. Do people even smoke anymore? I don't think anybody smokes anymore. Caden, I love this plane. I think I might even like this plane better than the Zibo Mod 737. So we do have power cart outside. So we do that. We will go on external power is available. So we will, pardon me, get a couple warnings there. We are on external power now. Both external power bus lights are illuminated, so we're good there. Start pump 2 on. That's right there. We're going to leave the APU off for a minute, but we are going to get our IRS calibrating because it takes about 10 minutes in this aircraft. So now I will go down here and let's close this momentarily, or at least move it down here. We'll get Avitab open like so, and we want charts. Scroll down here. And here's our OFP. So we're looking at 12,155 for block fuel. Let's go a little bit heavy. So we'll go 12.5. And to do that, we go right here. And we're going to say 12,500 kilograms. 60 passengers forward. 60 passengers to the rear, and then 500 kilos piece in all our cargo bays for a total of 2 tons. Right there and right there. And then if we go here, we can start loading fuel, and we can start loading cargo. There we go. Once fuel is on board, then we will load up passengers. Right. So one thing I can tell you about this plane is you can't really start on the FMC until the IRS is aligned. So if we go back up top, Back up here. Yep, still aligning. So we'll wait on that for a minute. But yeah, really, really liking this plane. It's the first payware plane that I've ever owned for X-Plane. And I think I did okay. I wouldn't say lucky, but for this to be the first payware aircraft that I ever buy, I'm nothing but pleased with it. There's is it Inibuilds? Yeah, there's an Inibuilds A300, an old Airbus that I'm looking at as well. But I have to say, I'm not the biggest fan of Airbus. It's a fantastic aircraft. There's nothing wrong with it. I just personally don't like it. All right, so we'll get these turned up. Just some little sort of ticky-tack stuff here. This is the FMS. We'll get this display turned up. And I think we can go here. So we want Mike Bravo Golf Tango. Drop that right in there. And copy that. And put that right in there. Destination is KMIA. That goes right in there. We are flight number 1932, as always. That goes right in there. And we'll wait till the IRS is done. So something else I did do is I got a Navigraph subscription. I didn't want to, but I got a Navigraph subscription. And what that allows is, so the information that is in the FMS on this aircraft, the actual aircraft inside the game, is the ARAC is 2014. That's the current one. But I also use little nav map. I use SimBrief. And the more that those ARACs are not the same from one app to the other, the more things go a little bit goofy. So SimBrief will build me a flight plan. It's got specific waypoints and various things in it. And if we try to load that flight plan into the FMS and the ARACs are different, now this FMS on this aircraft can't see those waypoints because they're different. And they cycle in and out. Waypoints get moved, they get decommissioned, new ones get added, airports open and close. So those ARACs come out, I want to say about every 2 months. The one that I have right now is good till the end of January, and then they'll update automatically. And Navigraph has an app that keeps everything current. It works across all your sims and all your apps and all your mods and add-ons and keeps everything absolutely synchronized to the current, whatever the current ARAC is. So that was, I wasn't super happy about the expense, but I can't begrudge it. It's a super, super fun hobby. I really do love it. So no reason to begrudge an expense like that. Now, on the ATC side, get some lights turned up in here. We'll go back up here. Right there. On the ATC side, I think I've tried all of them now. And VATSIM, there aren't always controllers working, particularly for the airports that I want to go to. So, yeah, have to kind of pick and choose what airport based on what airport is staffed rather than the one you want to go to. There is also IVAO. Yeah, this one was $60. I think the most expensive one I've seen is about 120. So it's a little bit like Train Simulator in that there are hundreds and hundreds of payware DLC. I think the difference is these are so much more expensive. I would say they're between like 3x and 5x the price of a Train Simulator DLC. So I think it can get very expensive. And there are also a lot of monthly subscription services. So there's Pilot Edge is a paid ATC, I don't know what you call it, paid ATC program, where they have towers that are staffed all the time. I don't know if those people are getting paid, but you pay for the service. It's $400 a year, and then you're able to use paid air traffic control live in-game. But it only covers the Western United States. It's essentially Denver to the West Coast. So $400 a year for the Western United States. I don't fly there a lot, but even if I did, that's, So it adds up. I think you could easily spend a couple $1,000 a year on this game, not including your rig. And the rig that I would like to build, if and when I ever build one, will probably be between $3,000 and $5,000. We're definitely a ways out on that, but it's getting there. So yeah, potentially a very expensive hobby. But ATC, yep, IVAO, same thing. It just doesn't extend out to all the airports that I want it to extend out to. So that is a problem. And what was the other one I looked at? Oh, I tried Pilot to ATC, which is an automated MBGT. It's an automated ATC. Let me see. Yeah, we don't even have no weather information available. Okay, so fortunately, if I go right over here, you can't see it. I'm doing it off camera, but our pressure is 30.12. So spin this up, right, like so. 3012. So yeah, that didn't work very well. Pilot to ATC didn't work, and there's also one called 124th ATC. And now 124th ATC is freeware. I didn't have good luck with it, so that is uninstalled. But Pilot to ATC is $60. I tried the trial. You can do a 10-day trial, and I uninstalled it. Did not work for me at all. So no ATC at the moment, but if we wanted to, this airport that we're at right now, Grand Turk, if we wanted to fly out of Grand Turk on VATSIM, there is no controller for this area, so we would just be on Unicom anyway, and there may or may not be anybody when we get to Miami. So, I mean, it's not a big deal, and I don't want to sound like I'm grim about it or upset or anything. It's not like that at all, but I don't know what it's going to take to be able to fly with working ATC the way that I fly. And I've mentioned this in stream before. Some of the streamers that I watch, in the same way that FPS streamers have streamer loot, it kind of makes you wonder how coincidental it is that they're always finding the most amazing stuff. I feel like some of the flight streamers, I feel like they are able to reach out to VATSIM. It's not a bad thing. I'm not upset about it, but I feel like they are able to reach out to VATSIM and say like, hey, can you make sure that this particular airport is staffed at this time? I want to do a flight to it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can spend 2,000 pounds on a driver. One single golf club, you can spend $2,000. But I think when you measure it against how much you enjoy it, what it does for you, how it relaxes you, the long-term benefits, because stress is very, very bad for you. And I feel like every year we get more information that stress, I don't want to say stress kills, but it's amazing how many chronic health problems can be traced back to stress. So it's like you can spend $2,000 a year on prescription medication and feel awful, or you can spend $2,000 for a golf club and feel great for the most part, until you shank one into the pond and that golf club ends up snapped over your knee. But yeah, it's adulting. It's a weird thing to be an adult and realize you can do whatever you want. It took me several years to process that as long as you're not hurting anybody, there really is no right or wrong way to adult however you want. Enjoy yourself. And sim gaming is definitely, I have found my spirit animal. All right, so while we're waiting, and we're going to open our front door. We're going to put our stairs down because as soon as our fuel is on board, we will start boarding passengers. We're going to close our back door like so. And I think this is what we had for our thumbnail. Yep, front door open. I really do like this plane. I really do. Yeah, no doubt, Ernie. And just being outside in general, I think if you can find, with this past crazy year that we've had, if you can find a safe way to be outside where you're, within the parameters or the restrictions or guidelines or whatever they are, if you can find a way to be outside and enjoy yourself with everything that's going on, so much the better. I love the outdoors. All right, we've got a lot of fuel coming on, 12,000 kilos of fuel. And these old engines, it is an older aircraft and it's not nearly as efficient as that 738 that we fly. So we're going to burn probably 50% more fuel than we would if we were in the 7.3. But this plane, I don't know, I could end up liking this more than I like the 7.3. And are we... Yep, okay, so we can come back down and work on the FMC, which is the FMS in this aircraft. So we will activate that route. So, and we need to wait till the rest of our fuel is on board before we do performance. but we'll work our way through these. And if I go over here, you can't see it. It's in another, it's on my other monitor, but I need to, right here. There it is. Super simple flight. There's no SID. 747? 747 is amazing. It is absolutely a technological masterpiece, even more so when you consider that it was designed in the 60s and 70s with like rudimentary computers. There were parts of the 747 that were designed on slide rules. It's like building a plane with an abacus. No, it is an unbelievable technological achievement, but I find it's too big to really enjoy flying. It doesn't suit my flying style. Fantastic plane. I just prefer, I mean, they call this a small to medium haul jet, and I think that's my sweet spot. Between probably 300 and about 600 miles for a flight is perfect for me. I think anything longer than that, with IFR being what it is and the way that these planes are really controlled by computers. Okay, all fuel is on board, ready, so we will start boarding passengers. Welcome aboard. Coon Airlines Flight 1932, direct service from Turks and Caicos to Grand Turk to Miami International. Right, so we can keep working on the FMS. So we'll go to performance, fuel on board, calculate our gross weight. Reserves, we want 2.5. When we get to Miami, cost index of 50. Now I'm told most aircraft cost index is 0 to 100, so 50 would be kind of a moderate cost index. Told on this aircraft it is 0 to 1,000, so we actually want 500 in there, and 50 as a cost index is essentially 0. I'll continue researching that. Cruise altitude will be in my other window here, 34,000 feet. So that is 340. That goes right in there. Cruise wind will be 260 and 26, so 260 degrees at 026 knots. And temperature top of climb will be minus 46 degrees. That is very cold. So right there. Top of climb, outside air temperature. Transout. Let me see. Still learning to read these OFPs. This one came in. This is not super long. This one came in at 26 pages. That's a lot to read. All right. And our alternate, don't worry about that. $5,000. Okay. So 5,000 on the transout. It goes right there. Execute. Go over here to takeoff. Outside air temp. Let's go sheet that in there for the flex. 149. So before I forget, go up to the MCP and we're going to dial this into 149. Oh, I need to figure out a workaround for that. I do use my mouse wheel for zoom, but the problem is, we can set this as well. The problem is, I also use it to spin these dials. So if you come out of the trigger at all, it very unexpectedly kind of bounces you into whatever you're working on, right? So we'll execute that. And center of gravity percent is, just drop down to 6. They're calling it 6%. Okay. We need to remember that number. 6% CG. So we go here to departure. And we are leaving on runway 12. Is that what I saw? Yep. Grand Turk, runway 12. Right there. No SID. Okay, and then we go here. Arriving Miami, also runway 12. Yep. ILS runway 12 via the FAUI 9. See if that's in here. It is. Lean up a little bit. The FAUI 9 All right. There we go. And then the root will be legs. We want right here. Okay, that is right up there. Yeah, this is taking us straight out. We really don't have any direct to Fowey. Yeah, we really don't have much of a route at all. We're just going to fly more or less directly across the Caribbean to where we start our approach in Miami. Okay. So that is, I'm trying to think, is there anything else we need to do here? Ref. No, I think we're good. Okay. Let's put that back there. Go back to the MCP. Sorry, let me do one more thing before we do that. Go here to Avatab. Something else you get with Navigraph, if you go to airports now and go right here, you get all these. So actually get a map of the airport, and these are all kept up to date. So we want to push back, and I would say, well, where can we go? Because we're kind of tucked in tight here. So, yeah, back into the right, and then we'll need to go down and do a turnaround at the end of the runway. Easy enough. Okay, so we want runway heading. Let me close that. There we go. Back. Yep, we're also not getting a magnetic for the runway, but we can figure that out. We'll just say 120 to keep things simple. $120. Trigger's like on the side of this. Oh, there it is. 120. And 120. All right. So come back here. Is everybody aboard? There you go. 1 second left to board the passengers. They're done. So we will retract the stairs now. Close doors, close cargo doors. All right, and we're all good there. Back to our flow. APU start is right here. Yep, and that is coming up. So we'll hop out back. Is it? Feeling like our sim volume might be a little low. Let me turn this up. All right, so that is up and running. APU start. There we go. Power bus there. Aft right fuel pump on. Aft right fuel pump on. External power, left and right, both off. Those are both off. And then we'll get rid of power cart. That's gone. Right. Here we go. So we go back up top. High pressure bleed, both on. Satisfies that. Galley on. Right. Windshield, anti-fog, anti-ice is required. Neither at the moment. Iris 1 and 2. Nav, those are set. Yaw damper, right there. Logo light. They're telling me to turn the logo light on. I'm going to leave it off. Don't need it. Radio rack to fan. Cabin pressure set. Landing altitude is essentially 0. And if I go over here, current weather in Miami is 30.0. So that is right there. Okay, so that is set. Altimeter set. Go back here. Reset fuel flow. Hydraulic pumps 1 and 2, both low. This one took a minute to find. I'll be real with you. Hydraulic pumps 1 and 2, both low. Takeoff condition. Let's see what this says. Center of gravity 0, flap 0. Center of gravity 0, flap 0. Transponder 2000 standby mode. 2000 standby mode. We did our FMS. It's right there and right there. Right. So this is before start. Let's go ahead and push back now. And then we'll get turned around. So we want better pushback. Come here. And this is a tiny airport. Could we, there you go. Could we, I think we could. If we do this, we don't need to mess with turning around twice.
Wind shear, wind shear, wind shear.
That seems uncalled for, sir. All right, let's go right there.
Wind shear, wind shear, wind shear.
Not sure where that's coming from, because there's nothing really going on with the weather in game. I don't think it has anything to do with this.
Wind shear, wind shear, wind shear.
I could really do without that. Well,
wind shear, wind shear, wind shear.
Does that satisfy that? Yep. So that's good.
Wind shear, wind shear, wind shear.
Is that a test that's causing that?
Wind shear, wind shear, wind shear.
Yeah, I don't know where that's coming from. This plane has been flawless till now. I don't think that it has anything to do with...
Wind shear, wind shear, wind shear. Wind shear, wind shear, wind shear.
And we want pneumatic valves open. Those are way down here. Okay. Doors are all closed. Throttle is idle.
Wind shear, wind shear, wind shear.
Galley off. And then all pumps on.
Wind shear, wind shear, wind shear.
Let's see if that goes away once we get turned around here. Thank you. High pressure bleed both off.
Wind shear, wind shear, wind shear.
Both off. Hydraulic pumps 1 and 2 both low. Then we need these.
Wind shear,
Trans
wind shear,
on,
wind shear.
aux on. That's right there. Position and strobe both on. ACL on.
Wind shear, wind shear, wind shear.
Flight director on. Max bank angle 15. Heading runway track set. Departure altitude set. Speed set. Correct. All right. Call and start pushback. We're there. Ignition to system A. Right engine start. There we go. And I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier, but I did configure my race pedals under my desk. I did configure my clutch and throttle as my left and right brakes. So we have braking and we have differential braking now, which is very handy. There's N2 coming up when we get to about 20. Throwing some fuel. We can hop outside for this too. They sound really good.
Operation complete. Set parking brake.
Back inside, set parking brake.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
All right, 2 is up. So starting number 1. There's 20.
Tow is disconnected. A bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal on the left. We'll see you next time and have a safe flight.
There's fuel. Yep. And there is number 1. Fantastic. All right. 1 and 2 stable. Ignition switch to off. All right. Engine start both off. Exactly. APU bleed air off. APU power bus left and right both off. Turn those off. APU off. So, galley on. Ice protect meter select heat captain. There we go. Hydraulic pumps 1 and 2 both high. So it's right down here. Both to high. Pneumatic cross feed valve left and right both closed. Those are back here. One thing I will say about Airbus is they automate all of this stuff. All right, there's our packs. Back here, speed brake arm. Speed brake arm. Takeoff condition. Center of gravity and flaps set. So we're going to come down here to the pedestal. We're going to go flaps 11. Okay, and when we do that, that 7% we calculated earlier. So we go 7% on the center of gravity. Say 11 on the flaps, and that gives us a long trim of 8. And so we need to, took me a minute to figure this out too. This required a trip to YouTube. So next to this little handle that I'm holding, this white handle right here, just to the right of it, you can see a little black pipper sort of moving. And we're going to move that down to the 8 position, and that will be our long trim set. So there's 6. And that buzzing that you're hearing indicates stabilizer movement. That's what that's all about. All right. So there is... Yep. Got it. There's 8 on the long trim. Flaps to take off. Auto brake selector is also down here on the pedestal. Set that to takeoff and arm. All right. Seatbelts on. Let's go back up top. Seatbelts on. All right. Nose light to dim. It's right here. Nose light to dim. Timer, I'm going to set that after we are on the runway. Parking brake released. Parking brake released. Brakes test. Interesting. It's not... Oh, it's because we didn't do this stuff. There we go. Brakes test. Good. Flight controls. So full back, full forward, full left, full right, left rudder, right rudder. Okay. So we'll tick all those. Oral config warning. So if we go down here and just whack the throttle forward for a second, we get no warning. If anything was not configured for takeoff, we would have heard it. All right, so right down here, weather to weather TCAS. Knock that off. Transponder, that is back here. We're going to TARA, TCAS test.
TCAS system test OK.
Transponder set to above. Right. Pilot view ignition to both. Keep our igniters going. Landing rights left and right. Nose light to bright. EPR mode. It's right over here to... We're going to use takeoff flex. And auto throttle is off for the moment. All right, here we go. Trying to think if there's anything that I forgot. I don't think so.
Approaching 1-1.
They're calling this 1-1, but when I set it up in SimBrief, they're calling it 1-2.
Runway 291,200 feet remaining.
And I'm going to turn this down just a little bit. Reset the track IR. Yeah, got to do a... It's a tiny little airport. We got to do a turnaround here. These make me so nervous. I couldn't imagine doing this in real life. I would be absolutely terrified. It's going to be a little bit easier with the left and right brake pedals configured, because we do have differential braking now. So we could do it. Yep, just about a 180. Yeah, if I lock this right brake. Yep. And then rotate the nose gear like to the side. All right, that worked out. So I think we are just about ready to go.
On runway 11.
All right. So auto throttle, arm. Now we'll start the clock. Oh, and that immediately went to toga. All right. Steam gauges, so airspeed is alive. There's 100 knots. V1. And rotate. VNav, help me out here.
Stabilizer motion.
We've got, yeah, it's
Stabilizer motion.
continuing to pitch down. Let me get sorted out here.
Stabilizer motion.
Yeah, that is full up. Flaps are retracted. What is, I mean, our airspeed is good, but we just continue to pitch down. And we're gaining altitude now, and our airspeed is way, way too high. I've had a lot of successful flights of this aircraft. I don't know why this one is fighting me. Let's turn the autopilot off. Let's turn the auto throttle off. Hand fly and see if we can get a handle on things here. Doors are closed. I mean, we're definitely losing altitude now. There's no, yeah, we've got no horizontal stabilizer response. All right, well, I'm gonna X out of here before that happens. I mean, I don't think that's ever happened to me before. I don't know what's going on there. What do you want to do? We can, let's try this. Let's go to the airport and let's start on the runway. We won't go through the whole setup again. Runway 11. Yeah, let's just start on the runway. And I'll go through, I mean, I went through the flow, and I didn't see anything was out of place. So let's figure out what's going on here. Okay. Fuel pumps are all on. So we'll need APU to get that started. All right, let's get the APU going. We'll start again. And come right in here. Oh, we got no power. That's why. Auto. All right, so there's APU power. And hopefully we don't have to reprogram the FMS. Power's on there. Does this? Yep, that's still on. I don't know. Oh, there it is. Yep, looks like it kept everything. Okay, so we don't need to reprogram everything. Kept all this. Let's go back to 34,000 feet. Right there. That's good. Everything else is the same. We'll make these 110 instead of 112. There's no... what?
On runway 11. On runway 11.
I don't know what's going on. I've had such good luck with this aircraft. So we're aligned there. Yep, everything's good there. Everything is set up as it was just a few minutes ago when we stopped. Go back here. Right, and down here. Okay, it's all back now. I don't know where that went. What do we say? 148. Yeah, I mean, I'm always reluctant to blame the aircraft when it could be me. Are we? Hang on, let me take a look at something outside. Are we? No, we did not deploy because we've got speed brakes armed. Yeah, speed brake is armed as it's supposed to be. Let's just start from here. Hey, what's happening, man? Ignition switch off, engine start both off. Let's get these started first. So we'll go back one more flow. And I think this is where we want to right back here. Right back here. APU bleed air on. That's on. High pressure bleed 1 off. I think it's got something to do with this. 1 off. Right? Pneumatic crossfeed both open. It's down here.
On runway 1.
Right.
On runway
Doors all closed.
1.
Doors are all closed, just to confirm. Right? Throttle, idle, galley off. Galley is off. Aft and forward fuel pumps, left and right on. Center fuel pumps as required. We do have fuel in the center tank, so those are all on. High pressure bleed, both off. Okay. Hydraulic pumps 1 and 2, both low. Those are here. Low. Hydraulic pump trans on. Hydraulic pump aux on. So we're good there. Position and strobe lights both on. ACL on. Flight director on. Right? These are all good. Max bank angle 15. Set. Runway heading track set. Departure altitude set. Speed set. Okay. So we did our pushback. Engine start. Engine. Ignition switch system A. It's right there. Starting 2. All right. So I did notice that as soon as we armed the auto throttle, we did accelerate. I didn't have to hit toga, and normally you would. So I feel like maybe that was, I don't know, maybe something was not where it was supposed to be. All right, so that is,
On runway 11. On runway.
there's fuel.
1.
2 is starting. Starting number 1. Yep. And there's number 1 starting. Okay. So when those are both up, I'm trying to think of anything that we missed over here. APU bleed air off. Galley on. Fuel heat as required. I don't think we need any fuel heat. Now it's 26 degrees. All right. Ignition switch off. Engine start both off. Okay. APU bleed air off. That's right there. APU off. That's off. Galley on. Unknown, Caden. I lost all horizontal stabilizer control when we were just pitching down into the ocean. Unknown. I've not had that happen yet in this aircraft. Ice protect meter selector heat set to captain. Hydraulic pumps 1 and 2 both high. Okay. Pneumatic cross feed valve left and right both closed. Switch right back here. Okay. High pressure bleed both auto. Right. Both those up. Speed brake arm. All right, speed brake arm. So if we go here, flaps 11, right? That is takeoff. So looking down here, center of gravity. So let's confirm our center of gravity. Maybe that's something to do with that. So if we go here and go to, is it init ref, performance, takeoff? Here's your problem. Here's your problem. Our center of gravity after we got everything loaded was 14%, not 7%. There you go. That's why planes crash. Could you imagine how terrifying that would be to to be in an aircraft and have it just pitching down and have no idea what you can do to make that not happen. It's terrible. All right, so 14% on the center of gravity. Flaps 11 is...
Motion.
6 not 8. So we'll set this right about here. Beautiful. All right, flaps 11 for takeoff. Auto brake selector. Takeoff and armed. Seatbelts on. Go back up top. Seatbelts on. No smoking on. Emergency lights armed. Here. Pilot view. Start the clock. Parking brake is released. Brakes test. Did this already. RL config. Nothing. Checklist complete. Weather and TCAS set. Transponder set. TCAS test we already did. That's set to above. Ignition switch both. Landing lights left and right, both on. Nose light to bright. EPR mode. Takeoff flex. Right. All right, let's try this again. So we'll go toggle power. And then auto throttle. Auto throttle arm. Forward pressure. Airspeed indicator is alive.
1,000 feet remaining.
It's 80 knots.
4,000 remaining. 3,000 remaining.
That's so unnerving. V1 and rotate.
2,000 remaining.
All right. That is just pitching around. There we go. Works better when you do everything right. How's it look? Beautiful. I love the sim. All right. Flaps are retracted. Let's get on VNAV. Lights off. Continue our flow. Nav mode is set. Nav mode is set. Nav mode is set. EPR mode climb. That is right there. Flaps 11 flaps are actually retracted. Go, flaps 11. Flaps retracted. VNAV mode, autopilot as required, autopilot on. There's VNAV. There we go. All right, flaps retracted, speed brake retracted and disarmed. Auto brake selector 2 off and disarmed. Ignition switch off. Let's back up here. Hydraulic transfer pump and auxiliary pumps off. Nose light off, landing lights off. Seatbelt sign to auto and max. Bank angle to 30. Over here, seatbelt sign to auto. Altimeter to standard. So that's going to be right down here. All right, altimeter standard. And we'll just hold this flow until we get to cruise altitude. And let's see where we are on the map. So we go here. Toggle tablet, right here. And then now I do notice we seem to be heading the wrong way. That's problematic. Yeah, we want to be going the other way. CQA. So on a heading of 11. Yeah, let's try this. But it says we're on our nav program, but we're definitely headed the wrong way. So we want to be interesting. Okay. Well, as soon as we figure this out. Can we do a direct? Let's try this. Let's get rid of this. We want direct. Direct to CQA. No, it doesn't like that either. All right, now I'm really confused. It has not done this either. We do need to make a turn here because we're going the wrong way. So we go back to the MCP. I'm just looking to get on. There we go. I'm just looking to get pointed toward the right continent, and then we can sort it out as we get closer. All right. So they're calling for 312. All right. (312) to Zulu Quebec Alpha. Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad I spotted that before we got to like the Canary Islands. Transponder, we need to reset this right down here. Engine sync right there. And then EPR mode will go to cruise when we get to 34,000. Right. There you go. All right. Took a couple tries, but we got off the ground. And I think it'll be probably about 45 minutes to an hour to get to Miami. But I will, as we're making our way, I will hop in here. Let's see, go back to Avatab. And let me see, what do we want? KMIA. KMIA. Clear that out. KMIA. ATIS is going to be 133.675. So that is 133. .675. There you go. Transout will be 18,000 feet because we'll be in the United States. Runway 12 ILS 108.9. .9 108.9, and magnetic will be 126 when we get closer. All right. So we'll just monitor fuel, and I don't know if we're back on the FMS at this point, if we needed an intercept course. Hang on. I guess the way to see would be if we go here. And it's got us on heading rather than... So when we look down here, we've got heading in green, nav in red. I don't know if that means we're not on an intercept, so it's not giving it to us. The FAUI is 278. We're on 312. Yeah, I mean, I think we'll just kind of see what happens. We're headed toward Miami. Yeah, crossing Nassau. Yeah, I think this is ZQA right here, and then we'll turn to 278 for Miami, I think. But we're headed the right direction, and I don't know that there's a lot of controlled airspace over the Caribbean. Yeah, there could be. There very well could be because of all the flights in and out to sort of tourist islands. But, right, well, that was eventful. Glad we made it. And I think looking down at that grid where the ocean is supposed to be, I think maybe I don't have the scenery loaded for this part of the world. I thought I had all of North America and South America, and that would include the Caribbean. And then on the other side, I just have Europe. I don't have any other scenery downloaded. Very cool. And we are on our way. Try something here. So if we put that right in there, do we get, right, like if we try to fly an intercept, can we get back on nav via the FMS? I mean, possibly. I've never flown this aircraft with this much distance to a waypoint before. It's typically 80 to 100 miles. And this is over 400 miles. So it could be that we are meant to fly a course and it's only going to intercept when we get closer. Don't know. Don't know. But we're definitely, like I said, we're headed at least toward the right continent. And I don't know what that'll do. We had a couple tons extra for fuel, so I think we should be okay. We didn't go that far. Maybe 50 miles the wrong direction, but I think we're okay now. Also in the Zebo mod, there was a big update for it the other day. It went from like 3.42 directly to 3.45. And then after I downloaded the big update, it had already patched up to 3.45.3. But I had PBR textures for the cockpit, and I also had a bunch of custom gauges. And I was doing all right. I was probably 50 FPS, 40 to 50 FPS. But when I downloaded the new ones, some of the textures didn't line up because Zebo had done some things in the aircraft. So I just went with his standard everything, just overwrote everything, and back to 60 plus FPS. So I think those PBR textures may have been holding me back a little bit as far as performance in FPS, but it's that is such a great looking plane. This one is as well. It's the first payware aircraft I've ever bought, and it's definitely worth it. So no problems at all. And take a look up here. We don't have... Yeah, I was thinking we don't have any visible moisture. Let me throw some engine ice on and windshield heaters. And everything else. This board is different than Boeing and Airbus in that Boeing and Airbus both have... You want everything dark. If there's anything lit at all, it sort of catches your eye, and it generally indicates that it's a problem that needs to be resolved. But with the MD80, you just need to kind of manually go through here. There's this big panel right down here, this big annunciator panel right here. This seems to be where all the lights are indicated, right? Like you see the problem here, and then you go up here to address it, versus Boeing and Airbus where everything is in the same place. So it's a slightly different system to get used to. It's also very odd in that, so we've got all of our lights down here. We've got light controls over here for pilot, over here for the first officer, and then randomly right up here we've got the logo light. So things do seem to be kind of stuck in odd places where you wouldn't expect them or where you wouldn't be looking for them. So it takes a while to find everything. Also these right over here, these hydraulic switches down by the first officer's knee, those will take you a minute to find. Well worth it though. And I know it does go on sale periodically, but if you're thinking about a kind of a retro airliner, you could do a lot worse than this one. A lot of fun to fly. Tricky though, and the problem that we had earlier with the center of gravity. You know, I did get the CG from the FMS at 7%, but we hadn't boarded passengers or loaded cargo yet. So, right? That's why planes crash. So when we took it from 8% to, or 8 on the long trim to 6 on the long trim, that sorted everything out. But I would never have thought that something that small, right? You just override it with some stabilizer input and you're fine. But we were not able to override it. And I'm trying to think of anything else. Yep. Just a great all-around airplane and fun to fly in kind of a retro way. That's the same reason I'm thinking about that Inabuild's A300. It's a slightly different era. You know, it's still a modern aircraft. It's just not as modern as something like a 320 or a 777 or something. But a lot of fun to fly. And ZQA, so if I go over here, ZQA is, I don't even see it on here. Yeah, Fowey is, looks like it's about midway between Bahamas and Miami. Sorry, I had my head turned to my other monitor. Looks like Fowey, where we're going, is about halfway between Bahamas and Miami. And that's really, we're just flying like a straight shot from here to there. No real turns between here and there at all. I did fly that leg from Phoenix to LA. I flew that once yesterday and once this morning. And that's a fun one. We need to do that at some point. I think in the evening is going to be the best time to do it. It was really pretty flying over the desert at sunset. Yep, I was texting right there. I admit it. Now, it's possible that the FMS has calculated in winds aloft and drift. And the reason it's got us, it wants us to be heading to 311, but 291 is where we have our marker. It could be that it wants us on 311 because it's anticipating a crosswind all the way over the Caribbean, and it will sort of blow us sideways, right? We'll be essentially crabbing the whole time. But when we get to 34,000, I want to see if it kicks over to nav from heading. And I did try a couple of times to turn it off. Right. Let me try again. Yeah, it's not really letting me push or pull this. Ah. So that is heading hold. And does that now. Yeah, that's going to drift us all over the place. Okay, so let's go back on heading hold. And again, we just need to get across the Caribbean. Once we get closer, we can even go ADF and dial in some frequencies. I don't know if I'll be able to do that quickly enough. Oh, here's one other thing we get with Navigraph. I should have done this a while ago. Here's something else we get with Navigraph. So if we go to airports, KMIA, and we go here. What's our approach? I want to say they've got us on the Fowey 9. So if we go approaches, if we go arrivals, here's the Fowey 9. You can actually see all this stuff. So we're going to be coming in from, I think we're just coming in direct. Or from that ZQY, I think it's far enough away that it wouldn't be on the card. But this is Fowey, right here. This is the waypoint Fowey. And you've got your headings, right? And altitude, speeds, and everything else to get you in toward Miami. And then if we go here, so that's the arrival, and then the approach is going to be ILS or localizer runway 12. Now we have this card. And these are, because we're in Navigraph now, these are constantly updated. So as soon as they're updated, they push into my system automatically. I don't need to like track these down. But every time I call one in Navitab, it's going to bring up the most current one. And again, this will show you, I mean, frequencies, direction, altitude, min, max, speed, transition out, everything. So very, very cool. And I think my subscription right now is about $10 a month. Back there. Yep. Okay. So we'll close that. And we're just about at cruise altitude here. And seatbelts are to auto. It's our altitude horn, 1,000-foot altitude horn. So I think I'll never, I'll never forget again that we want to just run through the FMS one final time before setting long trim, like at the hold point. Don't even set it before you taxi. Wait till you're absolutely ready to hit toga power before you configure that. All right, so there is 34,000. I'm waiting for this nav to pop up red. I have a feeling we're just going to need to get closer because we're still a couple hundred miles out. I think as we get closer to ZQA, it's going to let us get back on nav. All right, there is 34,000. So select cruise. Yeah, interesting. As we got to 34,000, the red 340 indicating 34,000, it's no longer illuminated. So we've got the red NAV. Let's see what happens as we get closer to ZQA. I mean, we can find our way to Miami, no problem. And I would say, I mean, I don't know how strict it is, but I would say we are within our some type of acceptable limit for being on course. So when we get to Fowey, and that's the great thing about these charts is we just fly 317 from Fowey, right? And that will put us into the pattern for runway 12 at Miami. So as long as we can get to Fowey, and we can, then we can, I wouldn't say fly it manually, but we can at least sort of find our way to Miami from there. So let's see when we get within, I don't know, say 100 miles of ZQA, whether that sorts things out. Because I tried flying on the indicated course. I tried flying to the course they give us here. So right here, CQA is calling for 311. When we turn to 311, we still have NAV illuminated in red. But I also tried turning to the indicated course on the ND, and that didn't get it to drop off either. The manual for this aircraft is 170 pages long. I have not read all of it. Still a ways to go. I'm just glad I can get the thing in the air and get it back down in one piece. And we've gone through about a third of our fuel, but we were burning a ton of that on the climb. So as soon as the center tank is empty, we'll cut those pumps out, and we should land. I think we were 2.5 on the reserve, and our alternate is Opelika Executive, Opelika Municipal. I'll take a look. I wouldn't mind flying the approach via heading rather than FMS. I do need to practice that. And that's a reason to get Navigraph, is you do have all those updated charts. You sort of needed to use VATSIM, but I don't know if I'm ever going to use VATSIM. I've been trying to and wanting to, but I find even when I go to airports that I want to fly out of, you're supposed to just sit and kind of listen to get a feel for the different phraseology and communication patterns, what to say and when. So I go to those airports and just listen on an open frequency, and there's nobody there. So I do want to use it. I don't know. It would seem like with the drop of Microsoft Flight Simulator 20, that there would be more people in the service, but you can use it for VFR or IFR. Flight Sim 20 is primarily VFR, but you'd still think there would be people, I don't know, that it would sort of bumped up in popularity with the release of that game. But it was 6 months ago that dropped. It's been a minute, so who knows? Yeah, I don't know. So when we look at this. Let's see when this comes into view. I don't want to waste a ton of fuel flying somewhere we don't need to. So this is 310 now. It may be adjusting for the wind, compensating for the wind. I don't know. We'll find out as we get closer. What was our wind that we put in? Yeah, there wasn't much of a wind. Let's try that. Let's just point ourselves directly at ZQA and see what happens. I also looked on Spotify for some 80s music. I thought that would be fitting. And I found several 80s playlists. They don't have any channels on, I'm sorry, I said Spotify, Epidemic. I looked on the Epidemic website to see if they had any 80s playlists on Spotify, and they didn't. They had 80s playlists you could download. And I listened through to a few of them and ultimately decided not to do that because 80s music is terrible. It is so bad. Interesting. Yep. So I just went with this. This is some kind of island mix. I thought it would be fitting. Something a little bit up tempo. And we've got now let's see what happens when we cross our, because we're a little bit off from our course right now. Let's see what happens when we cross our course, if we can somehow get back on FMS. I mean, it's not that big a deal because our approach is so simple, but I'm curious why we're not tracking that, and also why we didn't turn to that course when we, as soon as we were off the end of the runway, why we didn't turn to that. I think it may have been because we didn't have a departure from Grand Turk, and I know the FMS and the way the IRS is set up, you typically need to be sort of pointing in the direction of an intercept. It doesn't like to make 180-degree turns on its own. So I feel like if we would have just flown that first turn ourselves, I thought we were on VNAV. I was waiting for it to turn and it never did, but had we made that turn manually as we left the runway and just sort of got it pointed in the general direction, maybe it would have caught it. But we'll see if it catches it here as we intercept our course. And also, where in the Caribbean are we right now? Go here and here. I used to know the names of all these islands when I was playing. There was a game called Pirates back in the day. And I used to know the name of all these. Caribbean was not to scale, but you had to like travel to all these different islands. It's kind of a trading and economy game. Different things were worth different prices in different places, so you had to go out and capture ships and loot the cargo and then take it around to the place where you could get the best price for it. But that was a minute ago. That's when I was a kid. Yeah, I have a feeling ZQA, Zulu Quebec Alpha. I have a feeling that's Nassau, and then we'll make our turn to 278 toward Miami. Operational flight plan called for 12,000 kilos of fuel, but I don't think we're going to go through 12,000 because we're well past halfway through the flight. Came from right down here, not quite to halfway. We may use a ton of it, but I don't know. We got super efficient once we got to altitude. And so as we intercept our waypoint course, or what was to be our waypoint course if we had been tracking this course from the time we left Grand Turk. Let's see if we can get this light out here. This illuminated NAV in red. Let's see if we can get off that, get it turned green, or somehow get back on FMS nav. And we're down to about half a ton in our center tank, so get ready on those pumps. And there's really, yeah, that's, other than that sort of problematic takeoff, it's a kind of an easy aircraft to fly. It's not, nothing is where you think it will be, and there are a lot of things that are a bit unusual, like the long trim setting, but for the most part, it's a really fun, easy aircraft to fly. Really glad I got it. 126. I knew I was forgetting something. One, 2, 6. I think I'm making sense of this now. ZQA, Zulu Quebec Alpha, is going to be 310 from our starting point, right? Which would be Grand Turk. Because we were sort of dicking around, we ended up, I would say, west, southwest of Grand Turk. And so that threw everything off. But as we cross our intercept, if we go to 310 on the heading, I think we're going to be pointed directly at it. So yeah, this 310 here on the FMS, it's calculating that based on our start point, not our current location. So let's see what this does as we cross over here. And we're not, we got rid of, there was one waypoint in front of it that we got rid of. But that doesn't necessarily, I don't know if that sort of resets the FMS and squares everything, or if we need to put everything in manually. See what happens when we cross over here. Because there's, yeah, it looks like this is going to creep down right to 310, and that will be our intercept. Okay, so when we do that, we'll come off of heading hold and see if we can get back on LNAV. Right. So there's 310. That's pointing us right at Zulu Quebec Alpha. See if we can get back on until we complete our turn. Let's see if we can get back on LNAV. Still lit red. What are we missing? What are we missing? So if we go back to the FMS. Round legs. Direct to CQA. Yes? No, it still stays lit red. What are we missing here? Do we need to... We need to have it selected somewhere else. Map. I mean, it is driving it down here. We can, I don't know, let's just track manually for a while and see how that goes. Because we'll need to, Well, we'll see what happens when we get to ZQA. We'll see if it turns to the 276 for, looks like our next waypoint is Tinky. So let's see if it tracks when we get there. Okay. Just figuring it out. And is there anything else up here? Nav. So it would be... I mean, we got nav selected. But VNav kind of overrides that. I don't know. Let's just let it play out and see what happens. Yeah, we're still on heading hold. And if we go here, if we go back to the MCP and pop this, see what this does. So we want this on the 126 for final. There's 126, and is that? I know it's standard max bank angle. That's climb, so 30 on the climb. Exactly the opposite of the 7.3. Okay. So about 100 miles to this next waypoint. We'll see what happens when we get there. All right, and there is, yep, center tank is empty now. So center tank pumps off. Fuel heaters on. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything I've done differently this flight than on the test flights that's causing the nav to not want to cooperate. Can't think of anything. But I'll figure it out. Next flight I do, of course, it'll be immediately obvious. Next flight I do when I'm not streaming, it'll be obvious. But we'll figure it out. I'm confident we can put this thing on the ground in Miami, no problem. Everything else looks good. I do think we're going to be heavy on fuel. I don't know how SimBrief calculated that, but because we're going to start descending maybe somewhere just west of the Bahamas. We'll start descending, and at that point, we'll have hardly any fuel burn at all the way in. Really curious if the FMS flies this next turn. And just confirm that I have all this teed up here. So this is the Fowey. Oh, there's ZQA right there. And it is Nassau. Okay. So Zulu Quebec Alpha is Nassau, and this is where we'll make our turn to 273. FMS has it at 276. That could be to allow for wind. So we'll take Zulu Quebec Alpha to Tinky, to Fowey, and then make our turn. And then from here, I don't know what our transition is, but we're going to be flying in and essentially need to make a 180 and then down. Okay. So we got about 90 miles to get to the Bahamas. And let's do something here. Let's tee up 276. Just in case we don't make that turn. So we can pop in heading select straight away. There we go. All right, good on fuel. Temps are good, everything's green. All right, let's see how this all goes. And we can also go here. $70 miles. Now we've got a left to right crosswind, and it looks like it has blown us a few miles off course. So I don't think we're tracking on LNAV right now. I have no idea why. Flight directors are on. I have set VNAV. I'm trying to think of anything that we could. Need to do here. Yeah, I'll take a look in the manual. I missed something during setup because it did not populate there. Now it's possible that because we restarted, that caused some problems because we had everything in the FMS. Then we restarted with that long trim problem. Just restarted the flight, didn't restart the app. Did not have to reprogram the FMS, so maybe it just didn't catch there. But, I mean, it got all the VNAV stuff. I don't know. I don't know. Anything at all? What could we have, what could I have forgotten? Crossfeed's closed. Wouldn't be anything over here. Transponder. Fuel feed. I don't think it's anything over here. Unknown. Unknown. I'll take a look in the manual after we get on the ground. See if I can figure it out for next time. Has not happened to me before. So, don't know what the cause is. All right. A little over 50 miles. Through here one more time. Next test. $100 knots. Positive climb, gear up, no lights. All right. Nav mode set. Yep. Yeah, for some reason just never turned green. EPR mode climb. We're in cruise now, so that's not that. Flaps 11. Flaps retracted. VNAV mode, autopilot as required. I mean, we could cycle the autopilot off and on. I don't necessarily want to do that. Because we have made it, you know what I mean? We have made it this far. I don't want to cycle the autopilot, put us into some crazy dive over Nassau, and we don't make it to Miami. Let's just get on the ground. Even if we have to dial in the heading manually, it's not that big a deal. And we can use that to get all the way into the ILS cone. And it may grab it. It could be that it just needs to cycle one time, and when we cross Zulu Quebec Alpha, it will grab the next one. Tinky, I think, is the next one. It may not. If it doesn't, we'll just put it in manually. All right, 40 miles. See if this grabs it. I think we're too far from the waypoint for it to grab it. So we'll just go back on heading select. I kind of want to recycle the autopilot. Let's do it.
Autopilot.
Wasn't that? Okay, so we'll go on heading select. We'll try to go on heading select. Here we go. Heading hold. There we go. All right, so now we're kind of counting on VNav. So if we go here, where was it? It's this one. So we're at Zulu Quebec Alpha now. We want to be on the, they're putting us on a 276. I want to be on a 273. We'll take that to Tinky and then to Fowie. There's an intermediate in here. Tinky to Lux to Fowie. All these are on the 273, and then we'll get on a 317 and fly that to the transition. Okay. And I also want to see, because we're just about to cross over Zulu Quebec Alpha, I want to see if this drops off or if we have to manually fly direct. If that's the case, then the FMS is not working properly, probably because I restarted. But it may kick this one off and activate Tinky as the next waypoint. Interesting. So Nav just Nav just took over. I have no idea why, but Nav did just take over. It's flying us directly to Zulu Quebec Alpha. And let's see if it hops to Tinky. Sure does. Okay. I don't know why there was that amount of drama. I don't know if we had to be in a capture cone or some type of an intercept envelope needed to be below a certain point, but whatever. It did what it normally does when I fly this aircraft. So now we're on adjusting a little bit there. So they want us on a 275 to Tinky, 275, 273. Okay. And our VNav will kick in just after Lux. Between Lux and Fowie, VNav will kick in and start flying us down. So I think we can probably start the descent checklist now. Altimeter is set. So if we bring this up. Descent. Altitude is set. EPR mode will go to climb. We'll do this at TOD. And that is, it's not indicated on here, is it? Yeah, it is. TOD is after Lux. Between Lux and Fowie is TOD. So we got a minute. We can check this other stuff. Engine sync, we'll turn that off. Seatbelts on. That's already on. Transponder direction below, EPR mode, cabin pressure, and landing elevation set. confirm that. So we go to Miami, take a look at the weather. Still 30.04, so that's essentially 30.0. And landing altitude in feet, 0 feet, sea level. So that is set to 0. Okay, so that's all good. All right, well, I'm pleased that we're back on LNAV, but I don't know. I mean, it wasn't that big a deal. We had a super, super simple course to fly across the Caribbean. So not that big a deal, but I'm curious why it did take so long to cycle back on there. We are heavy on fuel, though. No idea why SimBrief calculated it out the way it did. And there's so many aircraft represented in SimBrief. I know it is the JT8D200 is an older engine. It's not super efficient. But I feel like they would know that, right? Like they would calculate all that out because they have so many aircraft in their database. And so many sim pilots use SimBrief. You know what I mean? It would be corrected. It would read properly when they generate the OFP for you. So I don't know, but we are heavy on fuel. We don't have too awful far to go, and we are going to start our descent and throttle way back to almost idle. Right, there's Miami. Beautiful. Get a little heat in the fuel here. Get rid of this. All right, so we'll call that TOD. Over here, EPR mode to climb. It's right there. Transponder to below. That goes right there. Engine sync off. Right there. Seatbelt sign on. Already turned those on. It's there. Altimeter. Set that. And we're at 3014. Let's wait till we get to 18,000 feet. That's our trans out. What's going to be next page? Yep. Landing lights. Yep. So we got a minute. Got a minute till we need to do that. Okay. There's Lux. I want to get into these holds as well. There's a hold at Fowey. There's a hold at, looks like Juner they're calling this. Is that on our? Yep, we have both those. So we could do, hopefully I don't wreck my flight right here. So there is a hold at Fowey. So if we were to go to hold, right, you set all this up as far as your leg time, your leg distance. And if an airport is stacked up, they'll put you into a hold. And the FMS will fly it for you until it's ready to leave the hold and continue on your way. I've seen it in streams. I've never done it for real. Never even done it to test, but I would love to do that. And without ATC. ATS is something different. Without ATC, it's, I mean, you could just do it. You put yourself in a hold, but it's sort of random, right? Like we could put ourselves in a hold at Fowey right now if we wanted to. But, you know, it's not quite, it doesn't mean anything. That's one of the reasons that I want to use ATC so badly is they tell you what you need to do based on the environment, and you sort of have to do it. So I like that uncertainty and having to, you know, sort of cope with problems and figure things out. At the moment, we just sort of do whatever we want. But I honestly cannot figure out a good way to use ATC. And I guess with VATSIM, what you do is you just fly at airports where VATSIM is, right? Fly at an airport that is staffed and kind of hope for the best. I've seen people take off and stream to fly to an airport that has staff, and while they're in the air, the controller at the other airport just dips. Go on Unicom. So it's not a perfect system, but even the Pilot Edge, you know, at $400 a year, even that system is not perfect either. It's only, I think, 16 hours a day. The airports are staffed, and it's only the Western United States. And there's also this very sort of unnerving thing where a controller will hand you off to another controller, and when you switch frequencies, the next controller that you're speaking to is the last controller you were speaking to. It's not the end of the world. Typically in real life, if you're going to a small airport where one controller is handling multiple roles, the controller will just say, go to my other frequency. They won't say, like, I'm handing you off to another controller, and then when you get to that new frequency, it's the same person. So I find that to be a little immersion breaking. But I do think some people are using services like Pilot Edge and VATSIM and IVAO. I think they're using it to practice for their pilot's license. So they're less worried about the immersion than they are just going through the sequence of phraseology over and over till it's sort of second nature. So I don't think I mean, maybe some people do, but I don't think everybody's as hung up on immersion in flight sim as I am. But I have yet to figure out a perfect solution. I saw somebody say you can use VATSIM and IVAO simultaneously. Take off from a VATSIM airport and fly to an IVAO airport. Yeah, I don't know about that. That seems a little bit, I wouldn't say it seems ridiculous, but come on now. At a certain point, I will just play another sim. I have too many titles in my library and I love them all, you know. So if a game or a sim or a title is frustrating or problematic, I'll just step away from it. Do something else. All right, here we come. We're getting to TOD and we're getting to FOWI. So we're going to start descending here. I try to monitor this super carefully because I know if I've done anything wrong, if I've messed anything up, the aircraft will just not descend. And then we've got a lot of things happening very quickly and all at once. All right, so we were throttling back. We were, then suddenly we stopped. Wondering, teasing. There it goes. All right, engines are throttling back. We're pitching down on the flight directors. So starting our descent, everything is good there. I am going to throw on some engine anti-ice because we are going through clouds and it is 26 below outside, so definitely icing conditions. Flying through moisture below 10 positive, 10 above, and we're well below that, 30 degrees below that. So anti-ice on. See if we make a turn here to Juner from FOWI. And we do beautiful. I mean, when it works, it works. First payware aircraft, no complaints whatsoever. And they do keep it updated. It just updated. The original aircraft was built in, I want to say, like 2016, 2017 for X-Plane 10. But they do keep it updated. This is 1.43, and it was released in... hey, Jaden. Released in August of 2020. Yeah, it's a pretty long plane. Seats about 200 people in a coach configuration. I think we've got a business configuration going right now because we've got about 120 on board. All right. Getting interesting. Let's take a look here. Back to Avatab. Yep. So we made our turn there. Next waypoint is Juner. And then after that, Lovely. And then Delta Hotel Papa. Okay. And we'll monitor here in case we need to throw some brakes on. We're running active sky. You'll see a little bit of flicker on the clouds. I don't know if there's anything that can be done about it. I've tried several things. I haven't found a fix for it yet. And we are, let's just confirm, we are on KMIA ATIS, which is 133, I'm sorry, 119.150. 119.150. 119. Not 150. We want the arrival ATIS. 150. Right there. Plug that in, and we go back here, and we go back here. All right, coming through 27,000. They want us at 250 knots at Juner. I think we'll be okay there. And then 240 by Delta Hotel Papa. Under 10,000, under 250. I think we're way over on fuel. And our alternate really wasn't very far from here. It's not very far at all. I'll take a look on the OFP, but I want to say it's Opelika Executive. So it's just the other side of Miami. We wouldn't have needed a lot of fuel to get there. All right, so there is Juner, more or less. Expect radar vectors to final approach course after Lovely. And I think they're going to send us to, yeah, Delta Hotel Papa. There we go. 3001. You got it. And we need to, I would say that's essentially the same 3004 and 3001. There's no practical difference for that for our landing altitude, landing pressure. I think we're okay. All right, so back here. Hang on. There we go. There's 22,000. This pattern we're supposed to fly looks a little bit ridiculous. I didn't step through this. Maybe I should have. All right, let's go 3001. 3001. Everything else is good. We can go 126 on here now. One, 2, 6 on the runway heading. Yeah, we got a little spaghetti snarl as we get down here. I think we're going to have to do some 180s over the airfield. little bit higher than I'd like to be. A little bit faster than I'd like to be. Let's see what happens. So after lovely... 273 down to 248. I'd like to be a little lower than that, but we'll see. Yeah, this is... So we're going to go down and... I don't fully understand this approach, but whatever. Slow down now. Bug for 220. EKZ. It looks like, yeah. EKZ, yep. It looks like we're just going to go down and make a crazy kind of 180-degree turn and line up that way. I don't know about that. All right. Trusting the software. Trusting the software. So we'll go to Lovely and then Delta Hotel Papa and then turn. All right. We're still a bit fast here. Oh no, there's, I thought we were making a 180-degree turn, but it looks like there's a bit of a lollipop out on the end there. Okay. Trust the software. And we're pitching to, let me see, 7,000. Altimeter is set. Let's do some of this other stuff here. Wait till we make our turn before I turn the lights on. All right. I have a feeling a lot of things are going to happen very, very quickly as we start to make this turn. So why don't we do some of this stuff now? Landing lights, left and right on. Do that. Ignition switch both. Hydraulic transfer pump on. Aux pump on. So speed brake arm. Speed brake is armed. Flaps extended according to speed card. I mean, at DHP, we're supposed to be 6,800, so we're going to level off here. We should bleed off a ton of speed. A little bit fast, but not terrible. And so hold that right there. Lose a little speed. Flaps to landing. Nose light bright. Is that bright? That is bright. Gear down, not yet. We want to be at 3,000, so let's drop a little bit there. So that's 10 miles out. We got to make this crazy lollipop turn here. Flaps. Gear down. Green lights, go here. Auto brake to min and arm. Speed brake is armed. Speed brake is armed. Gear down. Auto brake. It's taxiing. Okay. So that is 700 to go. Take this down to 175. I don't even know where the airport is. $12 miles. Over there somewhere? I don't even know. $10 miles. It's a crazy approach. Oh, we got some unhappy passengers on board right about now. There we go. Better. All right. Airport is over there somewhere. I can't even see it yet. It says we're about 9 miles out. There we go. I just saw a light. 8 miles. Yeah. All right. This might not be pretty. There it is right there. You can't even barely see it. All right, so we're way too fast.
Autopilot.
Let's get down here. Yeah, this is not going to end well, but we'll do our best. May have to go around. Yeah, gotta go around. 240 is ridiculous. So gear up. Flaps up. Get the nose down and try to get stabilized here. All right. So we want altitude hold. We want
Altitude.
speed.
Altitude. Altitude. Altitude.
All right.
Altitude. 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 Altitude.
We
Altitude.
want to be off.
Altitude.
Nav. We want to be on.
Altitude.
There you go.
Altitude. Altitude.
Okay, so we get all that stabilized.
Altitude. 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 Altitude.
So we get speed stabilized. We get.
Altitude.
All right.
Altitude. 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 Altitude.
All right. So let's.
Altitude. 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 Altitude.
Got to do something about that. These tiny triggers. All right. So let's head out on a 300. Just go out beyond the runway. Beyond the ILS. Get turned around. Try it again. I feel like by the time we came out of that turn, we were so high, and I couldn't see the airport. Just absolutely could not see it. All right, so let's hold at 3,000, 300, and 200 knots. There we go. So we'll fly out past the end of the runway, out past the end of the ILS. We'll go right here.
Altitude. 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 Altitude.
I could really do without that.
Altitude. Altitude. Altitude.
All right. So when we came off, well, we came off LNAV and VNAV, but they're sort of linked together. I think if I had just waited. So the software was treating us right. Once we picked up, so we had that sort of mystery waypoint all the way across the Caribbean where the LNAV did not want to recognize it, but then it did, and we were sort of okay. I feel like if I would have just kept trusting the software, it would have brought us all the way in. But as we got to that one waypoint, we were high and fast, and I tried to, I don't know, outsmart the software. Let me just trust it next time. All right, so let's get out about 20 miles. Let's go out beyond the end of the ILS. Get turned around and head back in. Maybe this is why we brought all that extra fuel. SimBrief knew. So there's 16 miles. $18 miles. $19 miles. Start making our turn. Get rid of that. I mean, let's use, which was it? That one. So we want a 1, 2, 4. I don't know, man. I'm not seeing this airport. It's 19 miles directly in front of us. I'm not seeing anything. Let's try Vorlock. See if that grabs it. Button for about 175. Speed brakes. Everything else is configured up top, so we're good there. 14 miles. Let's go gear down. Auto brakes armed. So it looks like it's grabbed the localizer. We're just waiting for it to grab the glide slope. 13 miles. Get on lock, speed brakes armed. Yep, everything's good there. Go top, off, starters are on. All good there. Okay. I can see it a little better this time. Maybe. All right, there's glide slope. 10 miles. Yeah, it just flew us right over the glide slope. There we go. That's what it wanted. Okay. So 10 miles. Plug down to 140. And then I'll hand fly it from about 7 miles. It's 9 miles. Yeah, it's so, I don't know if it's hazy or what, but I can just barely make out the runway. There it is. Okay, I can see the pappies now. All right. You know, I sort of do. I think maybe I do sometimes. All right, there's 7.5 miles. All right, let's just hand fly it. So 1.23. There's that coming off autopilot.
Autopilot.
Approaching 1, 2.
There's reversers.
Feet remaining.
All right, so let's get off the runway here, get everything buttoned up. There we go. So we need to go down here. Auto brake off. Dim those. Landing lights left and right, both off. Nose light dim. Position lights on. Transponder to standby. Auto brake selector off. Speed brake retracted. Flaps retracted. Ignition switch off. That is right up here. Off. Flight director's off. Right there. That's both sides. Weather radar off. That is right here. It's off. APU start. So let's go through all these first. Right there, and right there. And let's go here. Parking guidance. I don't know. Let's go to D3. All right. It's the other reason I really want to get on VATSIM is I want there to be sort of a conclusion to the flight, right? After we get where we're going, I want to get where we're going. Because I feel like when we just land and sort of go wherever we want, I just picked a gate randomly. But I'd like to be able to be sent to a gate. Now, if we get a virtual airline going, I guess depending on what virtual airline website you fly with, you can set it up so that you have specific gates at a specific terminal.
Approaching 30.
So if we were flying into Miami as an example, we would have specific gates that we owned at a specific terminal. And those would be the gates that we went to, like we would only ever go there. I guess that's a good way to say it. Get the APU going as we're taxiing here. Mega, how you doing? How's your weekend? Welcome to Miami. I figured this would be a fun tropical flight because it's been kind of cold and rainy where I am for, for about 3 weeks. Has not been very pleasant. So a little warm tropical weather. I picked a gate randomly. Hopefully the one I picked does not have any static traffic parked at it right now. No static aircraft. And we'll be able to get all the way up to the jetway, get that brought in, and get all these good people off the aircraft. Yeah, I guess it is evening. Yeah, it's 4 o'clock here. I'm the same time zone as Miami, so the sun is going down for sure. All right. I'm looking over here. I haven't seen any markings for Terminal D. Yeah, it's just been so... It hasn't even been like white Christmas weather. It's just been grim and gray and miserable. And we've got almost 6,000 on board for fuel. Simbrief really did send us out heavy. All right. That's November. All right, there's our guy up front. Beautiful. Nobody parked at our spot. Perfect. There we go. Welcome to Miami. So we need APU. APU is started. Get on the APU bus. Power on the APU bus. Nose light off. Should have turned that off before we pulled in here so we weren't blinding our poor marshal there, but I get busy. Parking brake set. Fuel valve both closed. Right. Parking brake, fuel valve, high pressure bleed both off. Fuel pumps both off. Fuel pumps, I'm sorry, all off except aft rear. That's for the APU. Hydraulic pumps 1 and 2 both low. Both low. Transfer pump and hydraulic auxiliary off. Both off. Anti-collision off. Come back over here. Seatbelt off. We can bring our jetway in. And the follow me vehicle that brought us in here from the taxi the Marshall that was out in front of us with the sticks, and this jetway. These are all SAM packages, SAM DLC. And we won't need a GPU. We'll be able to get ground power from the jetway. There is an option when you set it up, which is true in real life. You can have a power connection within the jetway. There we go. And we should get, maybe we won't. Okay. Quest GPU. I'm going to skip that. So we'll get the passengers off. Quest GPU. External both. Oh, I guess we could do it this way. Yeah, let's do this. So if we go down here, request the GPU. Both off. There we go. So we're on external power. Then APU off. APU is off. Start pump off. Start pump is off. After-right fuel pump off. After-right fuel pump off. Transponder off. It's down here. Off. Hydraulic pumps 1 and 2 off. It's those two. Emergency exit lights off. That's on the overhead. Right here. Turn those off. No smoking signs off. Those are already off. Seatbelt off. Galley off. Windshield anti-fog. All this stuff is off. 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 IRS 1 and 2. Both off. Both off. Turn down the lights while we're up here. Floodlight is off. Instrument lights are off. Yaw damper off. Logo light off. Radio rack to Venturi. There we go. Decrease brightness on PFD, ND, and FMS. You got it. So we go here. Bring that down. Right up here. Turn these down. PFD is down. ND is down. Floodlight down. Turn that down. Instrument lights down. External power bus left and right both off. Left and right off. Dismiss GPU. Dismiss. Position lights off. That's over here. Off. And battery off. And we are done. Battery off. That's it. That's the end of the checklist. There you have it. Welcome to Miami. This is the MD80, MD88 by Rotate. It's available everywhere. I think it's on Aerosoft. It's on xplane.org. Fantastic. It goes on sale all the time. I paid $60 for it, but it's on sale all the time. Well worth it if you're into sort of historical aircraft. Really, really fun plane to fly. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for checking out the stream. We'll do probably Western Shore tomorrow. Maybe. I don't know. Figure something out. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Good night.